August was a really busy month for me, and aside from finishing up a few games I had played mostly in July, I didn't have time to play anything. And I figured this would finally be the month where I make a sub 1 minute video that talks about the 0 games I played in August. But then August 31st came around, and I thought it'd be funny if I just played a bunch of super short games, like under an hour long, all on that day so I could still make a true games I played in August video. And yeah, I did that. So here is what I played in August. The first one I tried was a first-person platformer called Refunct. The goal of the game is to reveal all the platforms on a sort of island by jumping on these big red buttons and then turning the platforms green by stepping on them. That's really it. It's that simple. The movement isn't complicated, but there is enough there to keep things feeling good throughout the game's short runtime. You can slide and do wall jumps, and yeah, it's just enough to make moving around feel fluid. This very much falls into the category of vibe games. There is almost something hypnotic about it. Weaving between blocks as the calming music played wiped most thoughts from my brain, which is a rare occurrence and very much appreciated. For me, the nice little moment of escape was more than worth the low price, but for those who like to get more time out of their purchases, I do think there's a fair amount of replay value for those who are into speedrunning. As I said before, there is enough movement tech to be interesting, and I imagine there could be a lot of fun in finding the optimal route. All in all, it's one of those games that is just kind of joyful to play and is a nice palate cleanser. Once I was done, I played milk inside of a bag of milk inside of a bag of milk, and yeah, it's a weird one, but I imagine that was obvious based on the title alone. It centers around a girl who seemingly has psychosis trying to buy a bag of milk from the store. In order to help herself get through it, she frames the trip as if she is in a visual novel, and while I imagine there are different ways to interpret it, the various responses that the player is in control of appear to represent one of the voices inside her head. I think using the medium of a visual novel in this way works great as it helps highlight the protagonist's inner conflict. While in a lot of visual novels the character feels aligned with the choices they are presented with, there is a layer of separation with the ones here, and that perspective is intriguing and effective. You really feel like how you respond to something matters, and the game toys with this in some really cool ways that I don't want to get too into here as it's really short and you probably should just go play it for yourself. Visual novels are not my go-to genre, but this one definitely struck a chord with me in a way that many do not due to its framing as well as its really unsettling art style that perfectly complements the story and themes the game aims to explore. If you're in a headspace where you can handle a pretty heavy story and are looking for a creepy, thoughtful, and dark time, give it a look. As there are a lot of short visual novels, I continued the train of playing them with one called Missed Messages. I actually played a different game by this developer a few years ago called A New Life, and I liked it a decent bit, so I had highish expectations for this one. While it didn't fully live up to them, I still found it to be an interesting enough time. Unfortunately, it is one of those games that if you have any interest in playing it, the less you know the better, so it's hard for me to say all that much without feeling like I'm ruining it for you. To keep it as simple as possible, it primarily tackles themes of love and depression, exploring both in impactful and visceral ways. The writing is thoughtful, and while I did feel a bit mixed on how the central premise is handled, I think it mostly manages to be a valuable exploration of mental health that doesn't fall into the typical traps that many pieces of media centered on mental health issues often do. Like milk inside a bag of milk inside a bag of milk, it's definitely not one to play if you're in the wrong headspace, but if you are up for something heavy and generally like stories that explore the intersection of relationships and mental health, it's worth checking out. Now, to change the mood completely, I ended off the month with Frog Detective: The Haunted Island. Frog Detective is about as charming as a game can get. The music, the art style, and especially the writing all just hit for me in a really fun way that kept a smile on my face for the entire runtime. It is unapologetically goofy, and every interaction is memorable in its own way. Comedy can be hard to convey through text, but that is not an issue here at all. The dialogue is just really well executed, leading to what can best be described as a nice time. As for the gameplay itself, it is sort of like a classic adventure game where you talk to people and gather items that they need, and yeah, there really isn't much to it. Based on it being called Frog Detective, I had hoped there would be something for me to actually solve, but everything is super straightforward. Really, all you need to do is just talk to everyone. This expectation is on me for making assumptions, but it did still leave me feeling a bit disappointed by the lack of any real mystery to solve. I say that not to dissuade anyone from playing it, but to just make sure that you're going in with the right expectations. It's a really fun and well-written little game that is a perfect way to spend an evening. Anyway, that's all I've got. I will see you next time unless I decide, look, you know the drill by now. See ya!